People sometimes ask me, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen as a substitute teacher? I tell them, it's the time the kid crushed a Tic-Tac on the desk with his forehead and got a concussion. Welcome back to Capo TV, the channel where we know school is a joke and you don't want to be the punchline. If this is your first time here and you like what you see and you want to help us spread the message that school is a joke, hit that subscribe button now. This little Tic-Tac caused a lot of damage. Brain damage, that is. When I first started substitute teaching again, I took a long-term position as a teacher's aide. Now, in the Spanish class that I was an aide in, there was a small pocket of kids who loved to cause mischief. One day, for I don't know what reason, someone in that group dared another kid in that group to smash a Tic-Tac with his forehead on the desk, just to see if he could do it. And mind you, Tic-Tacs are not easy to crush. They're pretty compact, they're pretty dense little things. Well, this kid, being who he was, decided it would be pretty cool to try. So he carefully put the Tic-Tac on the desk. And here's where the accounts vary. Some people say that he smashed his head and missed the Tic-Tac entirely the first time. That, I think, is true because I do remember him doing it at least twice. Other people in the class say that he smashed his head on the desk multiple times trying to crush this Tic-Tac. From what I remember, he did miss the first time, but on the second try, he wound up even bigger and smashed that Tic-Tac with all his might. His might was so mighty that he nearly knocked himself out. He hit the desk, flopped backwards, and fell on the floor. The Tic-Tac was crushed into a fine powder. Now, this kid got up after a second or two, and he was woozy. The Spanish teacher noticed this and said, "Billy, what happened? Are you all right?" And Billy said, "Oh, I feel a little woozy." So the Spanish teacher writes him a pass to go to the nurse. So he gets down to the nurse, signs in. A few moments later, the nurse calls to the classroom asking what happened. And the Spanish teacher said, "Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just heard a loud bang. He was on the floor, he got up, and he looked woozy." Everyone else in the class that knew what happened is trying not to laugh out loud, including myself. Now, you might say it sounds horrible that me, a substitute teacher, a teacher's aide, would be laughing at this kid's pain. But come on, if you're gonna act like that in school, you're gonna get laughed at, and people are gonna tell the story on YouTube. So the teacher hung up the phone. She went back to trying to teach people Spanish. Some time went on and people are still snickering and they're talking about what just happened. Finally, the Spanish teacher gets one of them to confess to what just went down. They point to the Tic-Tac dust that remained on the desk and explained that Mr. Billy had smashed the Tic-Tac to pieces with his forehead. So the teacher had to call the nurse back and tell her what she just learned. I was standing a few feet away and I could hear the nurse on the other end of the line saying, "He did what? Huh? A Tic-Tac?" It was all I could do not to burst out in tears laughing. If I had made eye contact with the mischievous group of students, I would have died. If I had made eye contact with the teacher while she was on that phone, I would have laughed in her face. It sounds cruel that I kept this information from the teacher, but you've got to understand, this class was out of control to begin with the entire time. There was no stopping it. And the whole moral of the story is, I ain't no snitch. What's the craziest or funniest thing you've ever seen in the classroom, either as a student or as a substitute teacher? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And if this was your first time here to Capo TV and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button now and help us spread the message that school is a joke. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.